Larry, it's over to you.
It's amazing how many awards you can win if you hang around long enough. They have to give these things to somebody, so just wait in line. It'll come your turn. It is indeed great to be with you. Thanks for taking the time to show up and be with us today. I'm very, very appreciative of the demands on not only your time, but your energy. And we're going to work very hard to give you a return on this investment of time and energy. The way we're going to do that is focusing not on me, but on you. This is about you today. It's about something I call, it's not a phrase you're used to hearing, but it's something I call your leadership practice. Your leadership practice. Think about that for a second. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, architects have practices. Guess what? So do you. In small, medium-sized businesses, my experience over the last 40 years now is that much of that is done unintentionally, reactively, if you will. Things that have happened to some people today because they said they couldn't be here. Customers have demands. Investors want to see what you're going to do on their timetable, not yours. I'm going to encourage you and give you lots of tools today to take your leadership practice and move it more into an intentional realm, conscious leadership, if you will. Not as an end in and of itself. It's not about being cute or sweet or making it into a book somewhere. It's about your effectiveness and the success of your company. And here's something you know, but it's worth starting right at the top here. Nothing is going to have more impact on the success of your business than what you do as the leader in that business. And that's why we want to look carefully at what you're doing in your leadership and provide to you additional options. Your options, your business. I'm going to do a lot of talking, a lot of recommendations to you today. At the end of the day, you get to choose what you want to do, if anything. And I appreciate your independence in that. Everybody got your handout close by, either in front of you or on the screen. What I just said is summarized in the title of this presentation. Building an entrepreneurial team for strategic success. Not for touchy-feely, warm and fuzzy, but for differentiating in the marketplace, for creating market value. If you were to choose to, and some of you may not, to position your company for sale, I would strongly encourage you to take a look at the quality of your team. In my practical side of my life, my business, I work individually with CEOs, and I've had the great privilege to work with many of those over long periods of time. 5, 10, got a client in Orange County that I've worked with continuously for 20 years, and he just recently sold that business. And several of the businesses that I've worked with in the last year or so have sold, and they've sold at a premium, a very high price. The acquiring group said the reason they paid the premium was because of the quality of the team. The quality of the team. You know about the wars for talent. We're going to talk about that today. So when you're investing time and energy, getting the talent, getting it focused, getting it committed, don't think of that as time that's not on task, that's not purposeful. Very important in driving the value of your company. Okay, we got lots to cover. Let's get in here. Open your handout. The next page, the agenda, the structure for today. I could go through all these words, but here's the 3 objectives we're going to try to accomplish today. I want to give you a different perspective. I've alluded to it already. I want to give you a different perspective on leadership your leadership practice, the importance of what you do, not doing it reactively, but doing it with consciousness, with intentionality, with planning, and turning that into results. But a better word than perspective in some way is mindset. Shifting how you experience, focus, invest in this whole area of your leadership. That will only be successful if you have tools to use. And I've got lots of tools for you today. You're going to try some of them out here. I'm going to encourage you to later on in your company to try some of these tools out. If you use the tools over time, not overnight, but over time, those tools will turn into skills. And as you successfully build on your skill set, your confidence as a leader will improve. And that's what we're trying to do. Perspective or mindset, tools turned into skills, and the successful use of those skills, increasing your confidence as a leader. Because I don't have to tell you, this is a very daunting task that you've taken on, leading a small business and making it successful over time, defending against all the competitors out there, all the challenges to your success, making that happen. You need confidence to do this. And one of the ways to do that is focus on what you have accomplished. Let's begin there today. We just passed the first quarter of the year. Most of you are on calendar years. Some of you could be on a fiscal year. January, February, March. What was the major accomplishment in the first quarter for your company? Please write that down. The major accomplishment for your company. And I suspect you had a key role in that. Here's a tool for you. Start your meetings this way. Start your meeting with the question, what have you accomplished since the last time we were together? It won't be 90 days, it won't be a quarter, but even a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever. Focus more on accomplishment rather than problems. Problems have to get solved, and they will. They have their due and they will demand it. What gets overlooked are accomplishments and opportunities. As leader, one of the most important things you do as leader is set the agenda. Set the agenda. What we're going to talk about, what we're going to focus on, what we're going to spend our human resources on. Let's get some interaction here. Somebody, do me a favor, if you will, unmute yourself, unless there's construction going on in the background or 18-month-olds or whatever. If it's relatively quiet, unmute yourself so you don't have to do that when we're interacting here, and we can jump right in at any time. So if you will, unmute yourself. Who wants to share something with us? What did your company accomplish in the first quarter of 2022? Yes, Barry.
I think what we have accomplished as a company from beginning of this year, which we call it a shift internally, is changing our culture from a small one-man company to a scalable company so that we can push the growth ahead. Because again, we're not a 3-generation company such as some of the members. We're only a 7-year-old company. So I started it as a one-man person, And so I was feeling a lot of challenges in the structures that was meeting a one-person company versus a scalable organization.
Congratulations. Scalability, let that be the mantra in your head. Another word for growth, successful growth. Deanna, what did you accomplish in the first quarter?
We opened our 5th location, and most importantly, we hired a training coordinator.
Think of talent acquisition as major milestone for your company,
Yeah.
and let the world know that, not just externally, press releases and whatever, but internally, and not just an announcement. Explain to your people how this makes you more capable, increases the chances for your success, and provides to them greater security.
I love that.
Everybody's got a stake in that. I'm going to feel free to call on you if you don't volunteer. If you don't want to participate, let me know and we can pass. Landon, what do you say?
Yeah, coming into this year, we were looking to create a more scalable sales team. In February, we were able to hire a director of business development. And then in March, we actually had our highest revenue month since the pandemic. So, yeah.
Maybe purely coincidence, but we'll take credit for it. We'll take credit for it. For A, then B, and that's just what I was saying with Deanna up here, helping your people anticipate this. We expect milestones that we haven't reached in the past to be able to be. It's not just a body filling a hole. It's an additional resource we didn't have before, and this expands all of us. Jeff, let me call on you. What's major accomplishment first quarter?
We hired our first ever general manager, and with him, we found a slew of process issues that had for the last 20 years been tribal knowledge that we never knew about. So that's good.
Say that again about the tribal knowledge part.
We found a bunch of tribal knowledge that we weren't aware of before, and now we're killing the tribe, extracting the knowledge from the tribe and getting it on paper.
No, not on paper. Systematized. Systematized. So that Friday afternoon at 3:30, somebody's not running down the hall saying, Jeff, what do we do when?
Yep.
There's a reason for system. You want to keep the personality, the culture, the values of your company, but as you scale, as you continue to grow, some of this knowledge is going to be needed to be systematized so that decisions can be made without the owner's personal involvement in every one of those. I mean, Martha, can I call on you? What's major accomplishment first quarter? You're on mute, Martha. Let me come back to you. Okay. Where are we? Yes, Christina.
I'll say first that it took me a minute to think about it because I feel so bogged down in all the issues. But I did come up with one. So, and Deanna came up with some really good ones for us too. So we received accreditation from our biggest accreditation, and we got the highest one possible. So that was a huge accomplishment for us.
Huge. Don't be dismissive or disqualifying for these kinds of recognitions, these kind of mileposts. One of the most important things you can do as a leader is documenting, not inventing, documenting momentum. It's a cold and cruel world out there, indifferent at least. it's very important to know that somehow you're making a difference in people's lives and really tying that to why your people get out of bed and come to work every day.
That's true.
The whole line that authors and speakers use because it's so relevant. As a leader, what you're trying to turn your people into is not just bricklayers, but people who are building the cathedral. It's not, let me do my job, let me get my paycheck, let me go buy my groceries. What's the purpose? What's the meaningfulness of this? Who else do you impact with this? Connection. Motivation comes not out of just dangling a carrot somewhere. Motivation comes out of context as much as content. And a lot of that context is there's a reason for doing this. That's why you want to spend time thinking about your vision, your values, and how you communicate that. And some of you, hopefully all of you, but certainly working with autistic children. I started my career as a child psychologist decades ago, published a paper on autistic children. And I say to my entrepreneurs now, my early professional life as a child psychologist was infinitely helpful in working with entrepreneurs later on. The attention span is very similar. Their need for rapid gratification. Focus on what you've accomplished and share it with the team and get them to share with one another what they have accomplished. Okay, come to the next page. In your handout, your own words, write this down. What's your major challenge as a leader today? Think through that a little deeper. The first thing that may come to mind are the challenges of the business, for sure. Sales, cash flow, cost containment, acquiring people. But think through that. Those are the challenges of the business, very real. But your challenge as a leader, get this, your challenge as a leader is to get other people to address those challenges of the business so you can be whatever title you want to use, leader, president, CEO, whatever, but not bogged down totally in the day-to-day. So as you think about your leadership practice, I didn't give you the definition of that, leadership practice. Decisions you make, actions you take, and not to be overlooked, emotions you create. Decisions you make, actions you take, emotions you create, unfortunately, negative as well as positive, you can create. That's why you want to be conscious and intentional about it. In your own words, a sentence or so, write out your major leadership challenge today. If I can get all of you to do this, I can get all of you to participate, not just read along here, but participate with me. That's why I wanted you to have the handout. So put it in here, your leadership challenge.
So Larry, by the way, Lupe did in the chat say that her achievement, her accomplishment was to set up a 401k for our employees plan and submitted a $24 million estimate that has a high chance of being awarded.
Excellent.
Ooh.
Keep that in front of you. We want to do something today that will specifically, practically address this challenge. I want you walking out of here with something concrete to use that will make a difference in your life as a leader. Come to the next page. A big part of whatever that is going to be reflected in the quality of your leadership team. Now you're at different sizes and that's fine. For some of you, your leadership team is everybody in the company. It's 3 other people or 7 other people or whatever. For some of the rest of you, you've begun to grow and you're creating different levels in the organization. You may have people reporting to you who are leading other people. That's fine as well. But it's the quality of that team, especially as you continue to grow and add to it, as many of you shared with us, that's going to make the difference. I want to define high-performing teams. We throw that phrase around all the time. And I could give you a textbook definition of that, but it will not be nearly as meaningful as anchoring that phrase and that idea in your reality. And that's what I want to do now. Roman numeral 2, profiling the winning team, in your handout. Here's the next question. A lot of questions for you today, a few answers. Here's the question. What's the best work team you were ever a member of? From the time you left school going forward, what's your best work team experience? Make it, if you can, a regular business experience. Not time in the military, not a sports team, not a fundraiser for not-for-profit. All those are valid activities, but make this regular organizational, business, professional life. What stands out? What's the best team? And answer these 3 questions on the page about that team. What were you trying to accomplish? What was the mission of that team? Most straightforwardly. Secondly, what makes this one stand out in your own mind? You've been a part of all kind of groupings and gatherings and whatever. What makes this one stand out? What was different? Maybe even unique about it. And third, if you recall, what were the names of the people on that team? May go back a ways, could be very recent. Please do that now. Write out your answers. Best work team you were ever a member of. What I like to do at this point is to collect some case studies of high-performing teams. So let me hear from somebody, anybody. What was the best work team you were ever a member of? What was the mission of the team? What we're trying to accomplish? And how was it there? It's nice to have canine participation. We're all used to that with Zoom these days. What was the mission of the team? And how is it different? Maybe even unique. And let me hear from somebody, anybody. Yes.
I'll go. So not being totally honest, the current team that I have right now really is the best team that I've ever worked on.
Congratulations.
As we stand right now, a month ago, I wouldn't have said the same thing, but we just lost 2 team members, and I think it's been for the best. And I would say that the team that I have currently right now is the best. And what did you want me to say about it?
The mission and the uniqueness.
Okay, so the mission is to run and scale our company with a winning culture and excellent service. And what makes us unique is every member contributes. Everyone has different expertise. We genuinely like each other. We have no walls, and we can be vulnerable with each other.
I've got 2 questions for you, Christina. 1, are you successful?
Yes.
2, how do you know?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, obviously KPIs and things like that. But aside from that, I think that we're successful in that. Well, I mean, not in every way, you know, there's of course challenges and things like that. But I think that we're successful in that we all enjoy what we're doing. We're all happy with what we're doing.
Those are process measures. Give me an outcome there. KPIs are fine. But
well, we're KPIs. I mean, we're successful in that we have grown the company. We have increased revenue. We have increased our hours rendered. We have, what else?
You've increased the number of people and families that you serve in the community.
Correct.
Thank you for going first, and thank you for letting me interrogate you. Those two questions, I would love for you to ask your people on a frequent basis. Are you successful? Yes, no, maybe, who cares sometimes. The follow-up question is really important. How do you know? How do you know? That old idea, everybody counts, not that everybody is important, but literally everybody counts something. The question is, are they counting the same thing you are? We talk about alignment sometimes as if it's this mystical state that drops down on us. And I would encourage you, one concrete place to begin with alignment is, are we in agreement as to what our measurement system is and where we stand on those key measures? And KPIs are great if you've got them. If they are shared, make sure you're not the only one in the company who's tracking those. We'll look at your measurement system later on. Thanks, Christina. Somebody else, best team ever. Yes, Barry.
I've been involved in 3 different companies in my lifetime, and I'm having a very hard time to pick the last one or the current one. And simply because on both those teams, the current team and the last team, which was a construction company, which I was leading for 15 years, the commitment of the employees and the attitude was correct. That really, to me, is the most important DNA that you need to have, because that brings team effort, team building.
Barry, let me interrupt you. I agree with you, but that begs the question. Tell us, how did you get that commitment?
How I got that commitment, in other words, how did I get the people, or how do I see those commitments?
Wherever, whatever you did to get committed people.
Yeah, I measure the commitment by their approach in resolving issues, resolving stresses, meeting the agenda, meeting growth, which is obviously in the forefront of all of us here, because we all want to grow and we all want to meet our sales objective. But obviously going through that, you have a lot of different issues and differences in group that because of the right attitude and commitment, those become sort of not as important when you're going through every day.
Barry, did you select on that, or did you teach, train, and coach it?
I cannot take full credit on that. I believe I was lucky to have the right people with the right attitude, but then obviously providing the leadership and the mindset was something that maybe I did provide.
Great answer. Great answer. And I hope you can answer the same way. Successful people typically say they think they are lucky. I had one CEO use that in an interview question. Can you imagine an interview ever telling a potential employer that you don't think you're lucky? But successful people think they've been in the right place, right time. So you've been lucky. And no false modesty here, Barry. You trained, coached, preached, anything you could to get their motivation as well. And I agree with you. When you've got commitment, you can do a lot. Thanks, Barry. One more example, then we'll move on. Best team ever experience. Victoria, I haven't heard from you. Can I get you in here? Have you got a best team experience you can share with us?
I have previous answers I could share with you. I was kind of interested in hearing what other people felt were the best team makeup.
And were you a member of a high performing team at some time?
I feel like I have a really great team. And I think I've always kind of struggled with big picture descriptions and strategy and things like that, putting it into words. But like we did have, I feel like we do have a really great sales team right now, and we're really increasing new customers. And we've also, for hardware, we've actually recently sold a salon door that has been a goal of mine for the last few years. So I think we have a really great team right now.
What makes you qualify that, Victoria? You don't seem fully committed to saying this is a high performing team. What makes you qualify that?
I think because I think very next task. It's hard for me to think. I don't usually take a step back and think about big picture. So I think it's hard. It's like a way I don't normally think, I guess. So I'm
anybody else agree with that stance in leadership practice? You're in good company here, Victoria. And I think small, medium-sized people, that's typically the case. All the more reason, not just Victoria, but everybody, to document, underline, scream accomplishments. Build your own confidence, and certainly that of your team member. No puffery. Not everybody gets a trophy stuff. We're not inventing stuff out of thin air, but the real stuff, and that's very real what you shared, Victoria. That's the markers of high performing teams. We could go on and hear from everybody, but this is it. But here's the purpose of this exercise: to defeat cynicism. To defeat cynicism. Quote unquote, yeah, you guys talk about all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. I ain't ever seen it. I ain't ever been there. Where is it? Let me taste it, touch it, feel it. It's all around the screen here. Anybody not able to find a high performing team in your background? Anybody not have one? Jeff, all this means is you've got to work harder to see that this is a reality, not just something in books and speakers talk about. But you heard it in people's voice as they talked about being a part of it. It's very real. More importantly, you can create it now in the situation you're in now and use it to scale. Use it to continue to grow, because you're going to need this team as you do less of the day-to-day less of the answer man and the answer lady, so you can focus on strategy, big picture, whatever. High performing teams, they do exist, and you can have one. Place to begin: a hard-headed, candid, realistic assessment of your current team, the team you're leading today. So come to the next page and let's do that. By the way, this is a tool, this best team ever experience. I encourage you to do this with your team members and get that sense of what high performing teams are. Some of your people, depending on their age, experience, may never have had this kind of experience. Just what I said with Jeff, it doesn't exclude them, but you may have to do more teaching, coaching, helping them understand that this is a reality. Next page, candid assessment, current team effectiveness. Here's what I want you to do. I want everybody to do this again. Don't just read this, actually do the exercise, because I'm going to ask you to do something with it in just a few minutes. Diagram your current org chart. All I want you to do there is list the people who directly report to you, whatever you call them, team members, associates, employees, whatever. But those people, the 3 or 8 or 9 or whatever, that you have most influence, not control, but influence on. Then I want you to do a global rating for each one of those team members. And here's what I mean by global: averaging across, collapsing across all of their contributions to your team's success, your company's success. You know the list: technical abilities, functional skills, interpersonal skills, or not, if that's the case, as it is in some cases. The one I love, hustle factor, WIT score, whatever it takes. All of that rolled into one number, 1 to 10, 10 being high. Then do a global rating for your team as a whole. May help you do that to identify major strengths and weaknesses of your team. And then as you go through this process, as team leader, what can you do to change or improve the team? And write that down. Go through this quickly. First numbers that come to mind are probably the right ones. Don't agonize over it, but do the assessment of your team. I'm going to be quiet, let you think and write. Please do that now. Couple more minutes if you can. Make sure you get to number 5. What you as team leader can do to change or improve the team. The more specific you can be, the better. Anna, let me give you a heads up. We're going to go into breakout groups pretty soon. I want to say some things before we do that, but you can be, I think we've got 8 people with us here. If that's the case, we can have 2 4-person groups, but any kind of combination will work. It'd be better if we had more than 2 people.
Yeah, we have 9. We have 9 excluding Lupe, who's going to do her own separate breakout with her employee. So so we have 3 groups of 3 right now.
Right. Great. Okay, let me tell you what I want you to do with these. One of the reasons to come to groups like this, I believe, is something I call calibration. Calibration, real important to compare and contrast. Craftsmen like to know how the tools are being used. How do you use your tool? What does a setting of 5.5 mean to you? Here's what it means to me. Rating of your teams. What do these numbers mean? How do I make sense out of them? It will help to hear a couple of other leaders. If you can, I think, Anna, you're going to do this, people outside of your company. So you can see how other companies, other industries, other leaders look at the assessment of their team. Here's what I want you to compare, to calibrate. Rating of your team as a whole, not the individual ratings. Rating of a team as a whole, strengths and weaknesses of your team, and especially what you can do to change or improve the team. Got that? Not the individual ratings, rating of the team as a whole, strengths and weaknesses, what you can do to change or improve the team. So we're going to put you in your breakout group, introduce yourself to the people you're in the group with. If you don't know one another, you may not. If you do, that's fine as well. And then jump right into it. Please don't get into a sidebar conversation about whatever. Task at hand. Anna or I may drop into breakout groups. We may not. But if we do, we're only there as observers, not to interact with you, just to hear what you're saying. What else? And we're going to give you 7 minutes to do this. So you know the drill. 60 seconds before you'll get a signal. And then at the end of that time, mid-sentence, you'll be pulled out and back here and ready to go. Any questions? Everybody on board what the assignment is? Okay, again, if you can unmute yourself so you can participate in this group as soon as you wind up in it. Anna, any questions? Or are you ready to go?
We are ready to go.
All right, we'll see you in 7 minutes. Go for it.
Okay, I'll just stop the recording.
Okay, are we all back?
I think everybody's back. Are we one? Let me check for a minute with Lupe.
I'm missing some.
Here they come.
Okay.
And Lupe, are you still with us?
It's muted, so it may take.
Yeah, she might not be. Maybe they're working on it. I'm sure she'll be back.
Okay, let me give you some feedback as to how CEOs, presidents, owner-operators around the world have rated their teams on this 10-point scale. A high, rarely, of 9 or above. A low, I promise, I saw this, of 2. Primarily ratings of 6 and 7s.
Yep.
Some people, a little more technically inclined, take it out a couple of decimal points, 8.13 or 7.67. That's fine too. But think about that for just a minute. It's really the whole crux of this workshop, this presentation. Primarily 6 and 7s. An 8 or so, rarely, Victoria, congratulations, 9, even 10. Think about that. Again, not touchy-feely, warm and fuzzy. You're developing your team against people who see their team as primarily 6 and 7s. And I don't think that's overly critical. If you really wanted to compete and win, rather than starting with product or service or price or promotion or everything else in those basic marketing books, what if you started with talent? Here's a cold phrase for you. What if you saw as your challenge as a leader, monetizing talent? Monetizing talent, not much warm and fuzzy in there. The way to get there is a lot of warm and fuzzy. But you want to create market value. You want to, and if you're in a not-for-profit world, you want to create impact. And it helps along the way if you develop a surplus. I've worked with a lot of not-for-profit companies, but for success, for making a difference. And here's my basic stance. When it comes to the people side of business, I think we give ourselves a pass. A pass. You know, it's hard. People are different. Hard to motivate people. Blah, blah, blah. That's true. Here's the reality. I don't think you would ever ship a product or deliver a service that you rated 6 or 7 on a 10-point scale. Pull the chain, set the sirens in motion, stop. That is not going out this door. But when it comes to the people side, as I said, you know, hey, nobody else does it any better. That old line, we're no worse than anybody else. Think of differentiation, and what that could produce for you, your people, and most importantly, your client base, whoever, wherever that is. All right, here's your assignment. And who was it? Victoria, somebody named this. Here's your assignment going forward. To make your current team, the team you're leading today, the best team you were ever a part of. Why not? Why not? It's your team. You make so many decisions about this team, who's on the team, who's off the team, how we're going to spend the resources. Just have that intention. And then to have the behaviors fall in line, the actions to fall in line with that. That's a mindset change in and of itself. Okay, let me move now to the individual ratings. And unless you and I calibrate rating scales, what I'm really interested in are 3 levels of performers on your team. Excellent performers, good performers, and mediocre and below performers. The way I would use the scale, 9 and above would be excellent, 7s and 8s would be good, and 6 and below would be mediocre and below, chronically mediocre. Not somebody who's been with you 2 or 3 weeks and you don't know what they can do, so you give them a 5 or whatever. These people have been there a while, and the best you can say is mediocre. So let's not leave this dangling. Let's not have it as some abstract cocktail party conversation, the rating of your team. Let's make it actionable, practical. In order to do that, let me move you into your role as coach of the team. leader as coach. Two primary responsibilities of the coach: recognition and correction. Let's talk about each of those. And this is not in your handout. So if you want this, you need to take it down any one of these pages or anywhere else. Leader as coach, two primary responsibilities of the coach: recognition and correction. First of all, recognition. If you have excellent team members, 9 or above, the way I use the scale, please sit down one-to-one, face-to-face, and let these people know specifically that you know what they are doing and how much you appreciate it. Please let them know. In your previous work life, when you were the team member and somebody else was the boss, did you ever work for a boss that no matter how much you did, you were never quite sure they knew about it? Unfortunately, you were pretty sure they didn't care. Make sure your excellent team members do not see you like that. One-to-one, face-to-face, a lot of enthusiasm, because it's real, I hope. If you've got these kind of team members, you should be very appreciative. And let's see if you do. Show of hands, raise them up and hold them high. How many of you rated somebody on your team 9 or above? Hold them high, keep them up, keep them up. Okay. Jeff, top of mind, give us a sentence or two. What makes this person an excellent team member for you?
A quick start action type of person.
What else?
He has emotional intelligence.
Whatever that means. He has good interpersonal relationship skills. He's empathic with other people and he can communicate with them. Very valuable in cooperation, coordination, co-creativity, all of those good things. Good. Victoria, you may have more than one. If you do, pick one and share with us, top of mind, an excellent team member.
I guess sharing one of them, Todd, our salesperson, he's just really the total package salesperson. He's good energy, really sincere, and cares about the company. We have he's very aggressive. We'll fight about pricing, but it's pleasant to fight with him. He's also very aggressive with knocking on doors and talking to customers, but he's also very personable. Culturally he fits. He's happy to, go out with them for drinks, whereas I would like to crash at 9 or 10 p.m. So it's a perfect fit right now.
Yeah, but other than that, what's he good for?
Sales.
No, I'm being facetious. That's an amazingly long list, especially for a salesperson.
Yeah.
Be sincere. No, you don't understand what salespeople are like. They lie to everybody, including their boss, and they'll do anything to get that sale. No integrity, all those stereotypes. Not true. Not true. High integrity, really cares. And I loved what you said. He and I argue. There's no creativity without conflict. Creativity does not come from conformity. Creativity comes from those clashing diagonals. And that old line, if there's no disagreement in the room, maybe there are too many people in the room. Who's bringing up the alternative point of view? Who's challenging? Who's going through that will get you to greater creativity. Steve, do you have somebody you rated 9 or above on your team?
I do not.
All right. Who else raised their hand? 9 or above. Martha, top of mind.
I didn't, but I changed it. I actually changed an 8 to a 9.
Ah,
It's Jason, who's my production manager. And he checks all the boxes. The only reason I was vacillating about 8 to 9 was about his self-view, like his self-worth. And that stops him sometimes from being able to be all that he is, that makes him a 9, which he's committed to the company. He's in for the long haul. It's not ever wait to see if I get a raise to keep the job kind of stuff. And he is committed to the whole mission that he gets, that his job performance directly affects profitability, as well as how we show up for the customer. And he's committed to all of those things. And he's very much on board with the customer's happiness and satisfaction is key for him. And he gets the effect of if it's not, if they don't get that. So he's a great employee.
really? Again, stereotypes. Production people want efficiency at all costs. And if the customers and clients don't like it, well, they just don't understand. This place has to run the way I want it to run and blah, blah, blah. And he's got customer experience, top of mind. Great list, great list. You get it? You get it? The reason I do this, same kind of defeating of the cynicism, I hear about all these great, wonderful people. Where are they? I don't have one. I ain't ever seen them. They're out there. They're out there. They're probably well satisfied where they are. And they're not online, or people used to read the newspaper and want ads. They don't do that anymore. They're not actively looking for employment. So if you're going to get them, you're going to have to do something else. But please make this a priority for you as leader of the company. Chief Talent Officer. Chief Talent Officer. This is not an HR function. You may not even have an HR department, and that's fine. But if you have 1,000 employees, don't delegate this one, because so much of your success is going to be driven by the quality of talent that you have. So make it front and center. I'll try to make this all actionable today. As I said, do this, start a folder, physical, electronic, whatever, and label it this way: people I want to work for me in the future. People I want to work for me in the future. And as you go through your busy professional lives, personal lives, go to these conferences, trade shows, association meetings, at home, going to the mall to get a frozen yogurt, whatever, come across this bright-eyed, ambitious, customer-centric person. Give them your business card. Encourage them to visit your website. Let's make the website friendly for potential employees, not just potential customers. And here's the key: ask them if there's some way to stay in touch with them. And please do. Moreover, start a marketing program for talent the same way you have a marketing program for clients and customers. Not one-off. Not, well, we're going to need a controller in a couple of months here. We've got somebody going out on maternity leave, so we better place an ad. You're constantly looking for talent. And when you find it, convert it, bring him or her onto your team. My experience, if it truly is talent and it's a fit, they always more than pay for themselves whatever you had to pay. This is why you want talent and why it's deserving of some of your time and energy. Second thing to do, internship programs. Here in the LA area, we're blessed. You heard about my experience at UCLA. All kinds of, not only universities, state colleges, junior colleges, trade schools, vocational schools. Show of hands, anybody have a structured internship program with any kind of local school?
No.
Change that, change that. Not tomorrow morning, but within the next 6 to 12 months. Schools want a presence in the community. Schools want to be connected to entrepreneurship. You're valuable to the schools and universities. Probably if they're worth their weight, they will have somebody there who's a liaison, a coordinator. So you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to be involved in the details of this, but it can be an initiative. And there are all kinds of reasons to have interns coming through your company. Some of them you'll want to hold on to and make job offers to. They've got the latest thinking from the university or wherever, what's going on. You can tap into that. And somebody said in another group that it gives my people experience in coaching and training young people, which I want them to get that experience to begin with. Not a panacea, not a magic wand, not all will work out, blah, 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 but net, it should be worth a limited amount of your time to make it happen. Aggressively compete for talent. Don't wait for it to show up on your doorstep. There's too many people competing, especially today. You know about that. Recognition. If you've got excellent team members, let them know. Same idea, good team members. 7s and 8s, not everybody's a superstar. You don't need all superstars. You need some role players. You need some contributors. Let them know you appreciate it. Let them know what they're doing. And one more thing, challenge them. Challenge them. What can they do to become a truly excellent team member? And help create the plan to get them there and coach them to doing that over time, not overnight. Get good in your culture, your company, about developing talent. And then the world really opens up to you. Recognition. You can several of you mentioned changing culture. You can transform a culture by increasing the density of positive reinforcement. That's real psychology speak. We can talk about it as increasing recognition and celebration and documenting accomplishment, as we've talked about. Okay, recognition. Other side of the coin, correction. Correction. 6 and below, mediocre and below, chronic mediocrity. And the spirit of Vistage here, a lot of candor. Show of hands. Who rated on your team somebody, I don't want you to name them, but did you rate somebody on your team 6 or below? Show of hands. Usually half the group or more. And as you grow, one of the things you've got to look out for is the people who report to you leading other people. They can collude to protect chronic mediocrity, and you want to fight that for good human reasons, apparently, supposedly. I don't think so, and we'll talk about that. But no mediocrity. If you've got people 6 or below, here's what I would strongly recommend you do. If they're on your team, you and this person sit down together and create a written 90-day plan as to what they can do to significantly, even dramatically improve their performance. The plan alone will not get it done. I hear that on breaks, whatever. King, we tried that 90-day plan. It didn't work. I'm not surprised, neither is anyone else. It's not the plan. Right behind the plan, you as their team leader commit to meeting with this person on a weekly basis to review the plan and document in writing progress toward, or all too often, a lack of progress. In truth, these are huddles and not meetings. Probably standing up instead of sitting down. It's certainly not get some coffee or tea, have a seat, how was the weekend, how was the family, blah, blah, blah. Short. Focus, that's why you got the written plan. You don't have to come up with something new to say every week. The plan's right there. We're documenting progress. Here's what makes it work. Frequent, week after week for 13 weeks. You're there being candid with your feedback. I've got a whole other program on coaching skills, and I want to pull something from that workshop to give to you now. All leaders should have this in their toolkit. A short declarative statement that you are ready, willing, and able to use. And it is, I am disappointed in your level of performance. Period. I am disappointed in your level of performance. As different from, quote unquote. You ever heard anything like this? Maybe even coming out of your mouth? Oh, I'm glad we bumped into one another here at the elevator this morning. Later on today, could you stop by the office? There's some things going on. I'd like to get your input. I'd like for us to brainstorm, yada, 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 yada. What is this about? I am disappointed in your level of performance. Let's talk about how that can change. Please, no false sense of politeness, no false sense of sensitivity. I can make a case, I believe, that you have not only a professional responsibility, you have an ethical responsibility to let your team members know when they are not meeting your expectations. Their family's security, their material well-being depends on how you assess them. Please let them know, non-emotionally, that tone of voice as well as words. I'm disappointed in your level of performance. No hysteria here. Stay with it. Give them a chance. If you do it, and I hope you do, one of three things will happen. First, they can, sometimes will, make amazing changes. About 30% of the time, in my experience. Much more likely, the second thing will happen, especially today. They will voluntarily leave your company. All the better. Week 6 or 7 or 8, they'll come in and say, Martha, you know, I've been thinking, maybe I don't have a long-term future here. And maybe they don't. But we tend to hold on and hold on and hold on. You're not doing them any favors. They need to be successful somewhere, and it's not happening here. If neither of those two things happen, 90 days are up, you've done your part, you showed up, you kept it brief, gave candid feedback, no change, begin the process to replace this person. Do it when it's best for the company, best for the team, best for you, but please do it. What's held companies back more than anything else in the 40 years that I've worked with people like yourself is the toleration of mediocrity by the person at the top. I would, but we all have our buts. I would, but he's been here such a long time. I would, but she's such a nice person. I promise you, I actually heard these words. It's funny and not funny. I would, but they couldn't get a job anywhere else.
I actually said that. Yeah.
I appreciate the compassion,
But
but here's the idea. You are the surrogate for your customer and client.
Oh.
And your customer and clients can and will fire all of us. They're counting on you to intervene early on so that standards, quality, delivery time, attitude, all those things are protected. No toleration of mediocrity. You know what high performing teams are like. You know where your team stands. You're going to make a commitment to have your current team be the best team you were ever a member of. You're going to recognize the excellent good performer. You're not going to tolerate mediocrity. Now we need to know, how are you going to invest, not spend? How are you going to invest your time and energy? And what return are you going to get on that? And that process is called time auditing for the president, for the owner. And we want to do that right after you take a break. 10 minutes? Can we do it in 10 minutes? Does that work to get your information needs and biological needs taken care of? And let's see, what are we doing? I'll tell you what I'll do. 10:50. Can we be back at 50 minutes after the hour?
You got it.
Perfect. Thank you.
I
they're
think
ready
for
to
me, I already have someone in mind that I'm going to have that conversation with about, how
Good.
did you say it? The correction part of it. So
Yeah.
let's talk about how, you know. So
I'm
I would-
disappointed with your level of performance.
Yes, I wrote that down word for word because that's how I'm going to start it.
Make sure when you get into the 90-day plan that they're huddles and not meetings.
Yes, I will do that. for
You
sure.
don't have the time or energy to spend hours on this on a weekly basis.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, let's go forward. Here, the next page in your handout is characteristics of high-performing teams, number of ways to use this. You may want to have a discussion of your team, go through this checklist and see what people think of what you're performing highly on and what you're not performing highly on, what's most relevant to you as a company and what you want to change. Way to stimulate some discussion. Let's focus on you. Come to the next page, Roman numeral 4, the role of the CEO. Whatever your title, here's the question I've got for you. What are the 6 most important things you do each month? Actually do. Not should do, want to do, read in a book one time that was a good idea to do. Actually do. Leadership practice, not leadership theory or leadership philosophy. Leadership practice. The most important things you do at work. At work. And then going on down that page, 2-part question. What do you do to build your team? Act as an advocate, champion of this team-based leadership approach. There may be some overlap on those 2 lists, maybe not. Your choice. Jeff, you got a comment or a question?
No, you answered it. They're not mutually exclusive.
I'm sorry?
You answered it. They're not mutually exclusive.
Okay. Right, not at all. Okay, please do that now. Please actually write out your answers and we'll go from there.
That's
While you're finishing up, let me say a couple of things. One, I hope you would cultivate the discipline, key part of successful leadership practice. I hope you would cultivate the discipline to stop and ask yourself this question on a monthly basis. End of the month, first day of the next month, just pause, ask yourself, out of all this blur of activity around here, what's the most important things I got accomplished? And note the difference between activity and accomplishment. Once you've identified these most important accomplishments, go to your calendar, however you keep track of your time, look at the relationship between these most important accomplishments and where all of your time and energy was invested, and the return you're getting on this investment. And that whole process is called time auditing for the CEO or key leader. And I encourage you strongly to develop this discipline. Not right or wrong, finger wagging, I knew you were never any good at this. Learning curve, frequency of feedback. What we did here at the start today, looking over the quarter, bring that down to once a month, document, don't throw it away, piece of paper, back of an envelope, archive it, save it, review it, build your confidence as a leader. This is one way to do this. While you've got those calendars out, do this. Find a blank space in there and put your name in it and draw a line through the next few spaces to literally schedule a one-to-one with yourself and show up at the appointed time. Don't blow it off for whatever reason. 3 techniques that make this different from blue sky time, driving to work in the morning, sitting in an airport with a PA system blaring in your ear, trying to think. 3 techniques. Come to the next page and I'll tell you what they are. Some people are not on the screen. Are we all together here? Everybody still with me? Steve, are you there? Deanna, you're there. Martha, you're there. Okay, okay. I really want everybody to get this tool. If I were only going to give you one tool today, it would be this one. 3 techniques that drive this. First one, quality place, quality time, quality state of mind. Maybe your office at home, if you have one, almost certainly not your office at work. maybe somewhere entirely different. I'm in Santa Monica. I should have told you that. But I'm in Santa Monica, about 20 long strides from my front door on Montana and 17th Street here, if you know the town, is a branch of the Santa Monica Public Library. I've done a lot of productive work there. Nobody's putting something in front of me to read or sign. Nobody's asking my opinion. I can really focus. Quality place, wherever that is for you. Quality time. Most of you early morning people, some of us end of day people, whatever it is for you, guard that judiciously. Quality state of mind. Returning from some long business trip, you get in 11 o'clock the night before, 7 a.m. the next morning, you're one-to-one with yourself, probably not. Bring energy, bring enthusiasm, bring excitement to this process. Second technique, what really makes it different? A written 4 to 8 item agenda that drives this one-to-one with yourself. Written 4 to 8 items, at least one, hopefully more of those items would be an opportunity, a strategic opportunity that you will have the time, place, and state of mind to think through in detail. Come out of there with the most important things you're going to accomplish over the coming 30 days. And schedule in writing the next one-to-one with yourself. Start with 2 hours once a month. Make that work, make that effective, expand from there. If no other time during the month are you going to be strategic, intentional, conscious about where the business, where the company, the organization is going, you're certainly going to do it here. If you use this, make it work, this will become a tried and used tool of your leadership practice. The CEOs I've worked with over the years and decades, the ones that have adopted this, adapted it, made it work for them, have really made a difference in the strategic growth and success of their company. You need time to think. And it's not just blue sky time driving to work or whatever. Written agenda, focus, and the priorities, what you're going to focus on is a key decision. Start a folder and call it one-to-one with myself. As the month goes by, put potential, just label it, and then spend a little bit of time before you go there. Sort it out, get the top, more like 4 than 8, but some finite number. And then put something in writing. Come out of there with some action, commitment. It may be more research, it may be talking to more people, but give yourself some focus and direction. Famous people, it's always good to quote famous people in presentations. Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 4 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 3 sharpening the saw. This is sharpening the saw. And some of us are working on very large trees with very dull saws. Spend some time, get refreshed, document what you have accomplished, review that, give yourself the confidence to go forward. And, you know, is that second location, is now the time for this? How would I know? Intuition is important, and so is analysis. This is not either or, one versus the other. It's both, it's both, it's both. Save the time, save the energy. This is your thinking time. One CEO I worked with in New York, number of years, healthcare, industry. Started out, he had one location, $50 million, and over the course of 7 or 8 years, he grew that almost to $1 billion with some mergers and some organic growth. And he was a committed student of one-to-ones with himself. He got up to 8 hours a day, once a month. And his assistant was very clear not to disturb him unless it really was a crisis. He did some great thinking, some great planning, and turned that into great action. Make this work for you. Let me share with you what you could be doing in your role as CEO. If not today, if not tomorrow, at some point in your future, I hope. And again, this is not theory, and this is not personality traits. This is not a trait theory of leadership. It's a functional approach to leadership. These are the functions of the CEO. And regardless of your personality makeup, you can do this if you choose. 6 functions. Let me name them and I'll go back and elaborate on each one. On Roman numeral 6, page 8, you're all with me? Strategist, ambassador, inventor / innovator, coach, investor, and student. Top of the list, always for me, strategist, leader as strategist. Setting the future direction of your company, of your organization. For all you for-profits, answering that question, where are our future profit margins coming from? That's the primary question of strategy. Where are our future profit margins coming from? Every one of those words is very important. And the chances are excellent that they will not be coming from the same place they are today. Your competitors are working very hard to turn your differentiated product or service into another commodity. Don't let it happen. We've got an answer for that in just a minute. For not-for-profits, the question is, what kind of impact do we want to accomplish? And what do we have to do to get that? And how will that change over time? Thinking about the future, thinking about mission, thinking about execution, actualization. How do we make this happen? Something that will be so helpful to you as strategists. Oh, yes, Jeff.
Could you repeat the nonprofit one?
Is what kind of impact do we want to create through our mission? Something that will be helpful to you in your role as strategist, the function of ambassador. Calls on your important customers, clients, maybe vendors that are not sales calls. This is where you go out over a nice lunch or dinner, extended lunch or dinner. Get to know your clients for sure, but get this, let them get to know you. Everybody tells you to listen to your clients, and I agree. And I tell you to talk to your clients. Talk to them, let them know who you are. Let them know you're a full and complete and trustworthy human being. Share the things about your life. Talk about birthdays, anniversaries, vacations, graduations from kindergarten. What's the age? I don't know if any of you qualify for this. First grandchildren or whatever. The thing that makes you a real live and full human being. Let them know that you are trustworthy. At the end of this nice extended lunch or dinner, no sales proposition, lean forward, whispered voice, hushed tone, ask this question. Mr. Client, Ms. Customer, where do you see your business going over the next 18 months? And what challenges, not problems, what challenges do you expect? Again, where do you see your business going over the next 18 months? And what challenges do you expect? If and only if trust levels have increased as a result of this experience. And the reason to have you share with your clients is because of the tried and true principle of communication. And it is graduated self-disclosure increases trust levels. Graduated, not total, graduated self-disclosure increases trust levels. Don't have to talk about the darkest, deepest secrets of your family or your personal life or anything else, but there's a lot going on with you. Pick any of it. And something that excites you, light up, share that with them. You probably will get something in return. This other client, he's a master. He shows up in Augusta, Georgia, not for the Masters, but for something else. And he sees something, a magazine or a gold record or something hanging on the wall. And he says, "Oh, do you like country music too?" Well, an hour and a half later, they were still talking about country music. And of course, he got what he wanted to with that guy. And he's gone on to serve him well and build a great working relationship. Graduated self-disclosure increases trust level. You want them to feel free enough to share with you what's really going on. And one of the ways to do that is to communicate the reason that you're there. And that is to help them solve their problems. To help them solve their problems. That's what we're all in business to do. There's a lot of outcomes of that, a lot of byproducts of that we really appreciate, better material lives and blah, blah, blah. But the foundational part of it is solving their problems. If they could do it themselves, they wouldn't need us. And one part of marketing and sales is helping them understand how they could use us to help them solve their problem. The ambassador role. Fight to spend more time in the ambassador role. This is not delegated to salespeople, to marketing people. This is where the head of the company is out there, and get as high up in the company as you can. Hopefully the CEO, one CEO to the other. And listen, build a relationship. What you're trying to become is a trusted personal advisor. A trusted personal advisor, not another commodity provider. You want to be in the same relationship that you have with your attorneys, accountants, bankers, so that when there's a problem, you grab the phone or the text or whatever, get their attention. And your first question is not, how much is this going to cost? Your question is, can you help me the way you have in the past? And that's the relationship you're building. Ambassador. Once or twice a year, can be at any kind of meeting or whatever where you're going to be there. You can go on the road some to do it. Many of your clients are local. For some of you, more time as the ambassador. Or quote from a novelist, English guy who goes by a French name, spy novelist, John Le Carre. And the quote is, "A desk is a dangerous place from which to observe the future." Think about that. A desk is a dangerous place from which to observe the future. And how many of us do that? I wonder if, I wonder what. I read in the newspaper today. Deepen that relationship. Let your clients lead you. Here's a quote that's really relevant for you. This former speaker on the Vistage circuit, Red Scott, had this great line. The secret of business is learning how to stay in business long enough so your clients and customers teach you what you should be doing in the first place. And you talk to successful business people and they can give you chapter and verse. The Key Executive Program, 4,000 plus members around the world, and just this Key Executive Program, I invented that a few steps from here, my great genius, by having 2 members tell me, King, can't you do something to help us get this deeper into our company? What about something for your key people? They shared with me, they trusted me, the ambassador role. Their answer to the question, where do you see your business going in the next 18 months? What challenges do you expect? When they answer, push those jaws together real tight, open those eyes, open those ears, listen and observe as hard as you ever have, because they're going to tell you something that you can take back to your company and turn into real gold by engaging the third function, which is inventor/innovator. New products, services, channels of delivery, pricing, based on the anticipated needs, problems, and concerns of your good customers and clients. Fight, fight, fight to spend more time in the ambassador role. I know it's hard. I know there are a lot of demands on your time for tomorrow morning. Don't you understand? I've got to do this by tomorrow. Somehow, some way, it will inform the strategic decisions that you make. Fourth, coach all the ways that you can develop your people. Recognition and correction being one form, structured one-to-ones being another. Teaching sessions, you have so much to teach your people, if you will, about your industry, about business, about all sorts of things. Make a commitment to developing your people over time, not overnight. I've said it a couple of times. Here's the formula for development. Challenge plus support over time, not overnight, equals development. And each one of those ingredients is important. Challenge plus support over time equals development. That's what you're trying to do in this program. Anna's going to see to it that you're challenged with speakers, with herself, with one another, and you're going to support one another. Nobody said this was easy. Nobody said it was overnight success. But oh boy, if I could give you anything, it would be the faces of all the members, my members, clients I've worked with in tech and Vistage, who build successful companies, sold them or kept them and managed them differently, and went on to live really full, vibrant, exciting lives for themselves. And you can do that too if you use the program. I'm not a salesman for Vistage. I'm not an employee, never have been, but I believe in this process based on firsthand experience. Investor, spend a little bit more time on the balance sheet. Put a line item on there that's not on there now called market value. Market value of the company. Maybe for your eyes only, your decision, but on some anniversary date, January 1, your birthday, fiscal year, whatever, on some anniversary date, look at the market value of your company and look at changes year to year as the real wealth that you created as an entrepreneur. Not the salary you took out, not the perks you get, changes in market value. And for not-for-profit, you could do that because not-for-profits exchange hands from time to time. But you want to look at what kind of value are we looking to build with this organization? Some orientation to the future. And last, 6, what you're doing here today, your commitment to development as a student of leadership. And I hope you remain for the rest of your career a committed student of leadership. More to learn than any of us will ever know. You want me to go back and expand on any of those? You got it? You clear? Okay. Now, we rated your team. It's time for you to rate yourself with that same degree of candor here. Go through each of these 6 functions. Rate yourself 1 to 10, 10 being high. And you might ask yourself, when you give the rating, what's the evidence for? If you give yourself a 9, a strategist, what's the evidence for my being an excellent strategist or coach or investor or whatever? Take some time, score yourself. Got your scores? Look over your assessment. This is a self-assessment. Look over how you rated yourself. What's the one thing you could commit to doing differently that would make the biggest impact on your leadership practice? Not necessarily what you scored lowest in, could be what you scored highest in. Doing that even more. But do a look here. What's the one area you can prioritize and focus? And write that down the bottom of the page as a action step, commitment step, not just a word, ambassador or coach or whatever. I will XYZ by July 1 or whatever makes sense. Make it real for you and please write it down. Okay, this is really where calibration can be very helpful. Seeing how other leaders score themselves here. Anna, are you okay to set up breakout groups on short notice? Here, any combination, 3s, 4s, whatever that you need to do will work. Here's what I want you to do. While Anna's setting this up, let me give you the instructions. I want you to share your rating, your score on each one of these 6. And then your commitment to what you're going to do. Get around, hear from everybody, and then you can have a discussion in your group if there's time about obstacles, barriers to making this change happen, and help one another with that. But let me take away one barrier, one obstacle, and that is time. Time is not the reason that you're going to do or not do any of these. We've all got the same 168 hours a week. Everybody's busy. It's about making hard decisions of what you're going to do differently. So, Anna, are we close? Anna, unmute yourself here.
So yeah, so we have 2 groups now
Great, great.
already.
So go right into it. Anybody go first, move around, hear from the questions for clarification, and try to learn as much as you can about how other people see themselves as leaders. Go for it.
How much time, Larry?
7 minutes.
7 minutes again. Okay, here we go. There we go. Good. I think a breakout was just what was needed because they were flagging a little bit. So I think this is, you know, they're at their best when they're interacting. And it was very interactive, Larry. I mean, this is amazing.
Did we lose some people?
Yeah, so Victoria's baby, she has to look after her. She's got a new baby. So she's looking after her while her nanny is at lunch. Marcy's daughter is sick, so she's having to take care of her while she's on her travel as well out in New York. So so that's, you know, and so I think that's the 2 that we lost. So anyway, there's a slight mix in who they're talking to now, which should be good as well.
Okay, I'm going to jump into room 1.
Yes, room 1, I've got you with Barry, Deanna, and Steve.
Okay, all right. I'll
Okay.
see you in a few minutes.
Okay, great.
I got another exercise I want you to do. But before we go there, any comments, questions about the role of the CEO and your part in it? Okay. Okay. Maybe the most important thing you're going to do today. You rated your team. You rated yourself. You made a commitment. The reason so many improvement plans fail is because there's no room made for them to actually happen. You're going to do these great and grand and glorious, wonderful things on top of everything else you're already doing that you can't get done to begin with. You got to let go. You got to let go. Delegation. What's something you're now doing? Something important even that you're now doing that is a candidate to be delegated to somebody on your team. And I want you to choose that, but I want you to think about a couple of things. Rather than just delegating tasks, I would encourage you to think about delegating decision-making. Something really important. And something, we talked about challenging your team members. One of the ways to challenging them is invite them into a process before they think they're ready to get there. And you think they may be able to do it, and supporting them along the way. You know, this is not binary. It's not on or off, all or nothing. You can string this out over 90 days, 180 days, whatever. And you don't have to delegate this tomorrow morning. You can, but here's the assignment, and write it out anywhere you want to. This page, back of one of these pages, your own notes or your own computer file, whatever. Choose a delegation item, task, process, decision-making, judgment. Choose one. Choose a name. To whom are you going to delegate this? Not somebody sometime out there in the never, never land, a specific person. And certainly not one of your chronically mediocre team members. They're barely able to keep their nose above the water now. They got to see if they can complete a 90-day plan. But one of your excellent or good team members. Choose a name and choose a date. Again, doesn't have to be tomorrow. You may have to replace somebody. You may have to get somebody in there. You may have to train somebody, but reasonable amount of time to begin this process. And here's the criterion I want you to use in what you select. I want you to create, by giving this away, I want you to create 20 hours a month for yourself. 20 hours a month. Not a small number, but not impossible. 5 hours a week on average, something significant. So I'm going to be quiet and let you think. Task, process, judgment, a name, and when you're going to have it complete. And as a result of it being completed, you have to have 20 hours a month to invest in more effective leadership. Time to be writing, time to be writing. I know it's hard. I know you want to think about it, but let's call it a first draft, if nothing else. Get your thoughts on paper. Couple more minutes. Make this happen. Make this happen. Break it up, put it into smaller chunks. You get blocked, don't give up, start again. Here's what you want to do. Teach, train, and coach yourself out of a job. teach, train, and coach yourself out of a job. Had a lot of people take that on. Nobody really succeed, but along the way, they made much better teams than they had before when they started. Give it away. Give it away. It's not a measure of your ego or your greatness, of your power as to how much you're holding on to. Just the opposite. It's a measure of your leadership and your ability to coach and develop people as to how much you can give away and still have it done successfully, of course. Delegation is not abdication. Huge difference. Delegation is not take this thing and get out of here. I never want to see it again or hear from you. Here's a task. Let's break it down. Let's talk about it. Where we began. I've got some ideas. You probably do. Let's meet within another 5 days to see what progress has been made. Make it successful. And when it's successful, it will greatly increase your motivation to continue to do this. And please do. Okay. More material than time. That's usually the case. There's always lots of material, but we want to personalize it and make it yours. Let's do this. Start your meetings with significant events. End them with rapid recall. What have you accomplished? We talked about that. Personal as well as professional. Get your team members to engage in graduated self-disclosure. And you go first, Mr. or Ms. Introvert. I don't like to talk about myself. Well, get prepared. Not much cost. The trip to Disneyland, the fishing trip you had, the basketball game you saw with your son or granddaughter or whatever, all of that counts. It was meaningful, it was significant to you. Share that with your team. Get them to share something. And the same thing on the professional side. Warm up the group, everybody participates. Once people participate, they're much more likely to participate again. You want to engage in your meetings, and then you can take it, drive it from there. At the end of the meetings, end with rapid recall. Of all the things we discussed today, what are you taking away of value and maybe committing to use? So I'm going to start somewhere and go around and hear from everybody in turn. Deanna, what do you want to share with us? What are you taking away from today?
You're on mute.
Okay, so what am I delegating, or what am I taking away from today?
Of all the things we talked about,
Oh my goodness.
what's one of them that you
Okay.
can share with us?
So let's see. I really liked the one-on-one, carving out that time for my one-on-one to set my own goals and ideas and everything else. I don't really take the time to do that. So I'm going to actually commit to doing that so that.
Thank you very much for sharing that. One of the purposes of this is something we talked about that you may wanted to commit to and forgotten about it. This may remind you to do it as we go around the screen. It's okay to repeat what someone else has said. What we're interested in is what you want to do with about that much time. Thank you for modeling for us, Deanna. Barry, what do you want to take away from today?
A lot. You've endorsed some of the things that I was thinking about, but I've also learned some of the techniques that you have shared with us. So I guess I'm looking forward in trying to practice those.
Can you share one of them with us?
Your your approach in how to have conversations with the team. Conceptually, you always know that it's good to be a good team builder, to be personal. And you try to do that, but you kind of have highlighted that to be a part of a successful process, I presume. It's coming from you, so that I need to engage on that a little bit more on the personal level to be able to gain, conceptually, yeah, we all want to do that, but in a busy day, you say, okay, I don't want to not talk about, your personal issues. I want to talk about that, but you've highlighted that for me.
Thanks. Landon, what are you taking away?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway was the need to really just develop high-performing teams. So there was the quote where you said the biggest kind of issue holding companies back is the toleration of mediocrity from people at the top. I think it's a pain point we're experiencing right now. And as Barry mentioned, having the frank conversations, and also the strategies you put in place to kind of build that talent pool or pipeline, right? Creating marketing campaigns for talent, identifying people that you would want to come work at your company. As I think about resource planning, I think that's going to be a big one to take away for us.
Good. Glad you were here today. Martha.
One of the most important things that I've taken away is that I'm actually doing okay. It's like the self-doubt is a biggie, but straight talk and all of that. But the strategy about bringing someone into one of my projects and handing it over in a powerful way so that it becomes them, like it becomes their thing. I love the quote, teach, train, and coach yourself out of a job. Got lots of jobs to do that with, and that's a really great strategy to put into that. So thank you.
Thank you. Remember, my perspective, mindset, tools, skills, and confidence. And I hope for some of you today, this is out there, it's straightforward, and you're doing some of it, can do more. And that's what you want to focus on. Steve, what do you say?
I got quite a few things. The 20-hour goal per month. Anna started off the introduction with the busy lifestyle that I have. And so 20 hours a month would be amazing. So I got some ideas jotted down. I'm going to be able to utilize that. Going through the talent on the current team and putting some numbers next to them and seeing where the greatest opportunity was. Talked about coaching and improving the overall effectiveness of the team. And then annually looking at the value of the business, right? The market value of the business, looking at that annually and at the same time, and using it as a benchmark so that what do I need to do this year to improve that number, to keep it going up.
Way to go. Thank you. Jeff, what do you say?
Larry, I just wanted to say I'm disappointed in your level of performance. I want to talk about how we can change that.
I've heard that before, Jeff. I've heard that. I keep trying.
Not getting lots of practice, Jeff.
What do you want to take away, Jeff?
That's what I'm terrible at that, and I need to start working on that.
So you're actually talking about using that sentence and saying it to people.
I avoid conflict at all costs. So
Yeah. That's really great, Jeff. That is
it gets easier. It gets easier with practice, Jeff.
It does. Yes, it does.
Anna, what are you taking away from today?
So I've just taken away delegation, but I'm going to delegate housework. So I'm actually considering getting somebody in to do it. And all my life I've cleaned my own house, but I think this is the time because I'm just too busy. I'm busy doing the things I love. So that's a big one. I've got a couple of other things I can delegate, but that's going to give me more time.
Please bring this handout to your next one-to-one with Anna. There's so many things in here where she can support you in your continuing efforts to develop as a leader. We talked about some specific things in here. At the very least, share your rating of your team and your rating of yourself on the 6 functions of the CEO, which ones you want to change, and then for sure, the delegation item that you've chosen, and help her structure that. Okay, I'm almost out of time. Real quickly, I asked people who shared the best team ever, share the mission, share the uniqueness, don't share the names. I like to end on the names. Almost everybody, almost always remembers the names of the people on their best team ever experience, even when it goes back 5, 10, 20 years or more. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is we did something very meaningful together. And meaningfulness has resonance. It doesn't die at the end of the day, ho hum, another day, another dollar, so what? We talked about building the cathedral, not laying blocks. As a leader, help your people understand the importance of what you're doing together. You are serving a purpose. Find that mission, find that purpose, articulate it, sell and enroll your people. We started with your challenge as a leader. We can end there. Your true challenge as a leader is the same as every leader's today, and that is to create meaningfulness in the lives of your people. And everything we've talked about today will help you do that. Good luck in doing it. My contact information's on the cover of this thing. If I can be of help to you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. I enjoyed being with you. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.